whatever. Ooh. I believe this is it. Dr. Sith's laboratory. Oh, the chemical smell really assaults the nose. There's plenty to assault the eyes in here too. Looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think? What a seasoned tourist you've become, Mr. Soto. We could just have a look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. Ooh. Eerie. Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinets makers are very skilled, aren't they? Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Nodohodl? Mr. Soto? Can't you tell I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? That's how I cope! I'll be sure to remember that from now on. The desk? Oh. The desk! Look at this big, thick book here. It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchased various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month! 500?! They must be working really hard dissecting corpses! I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened too. It does seem a bit strange, you're right. 500 scalpels a month? What could they possibly be using all of them for? What are you doing? Ah! Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so So you thought you'd snoop around? That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Lord Stronghouse told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asmon's body, I believe. So we came to ask you about your findings. On Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. Alright. Your findings? So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Odi Asmon, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion. And the Mr. Asmon, who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. That can't be right! If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see. If two people who look very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Ah, fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognised as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day, they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. It hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery.
Mama, what is this?
Ah! Where did she spring from? Did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear.
Oh,
Hello. To meet you. Pleased to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer.
Mama,
Yes.
can I cut this one up?
What?
I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like.
Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see.
Boring.
I think I just had a near-death experience.
Dear Mr. Neverhoodle, you're as pale as a corpse.
And this leave before I'm mistaken for one. Gee. Oh, what? Still? Fine. Yeet. Oh, we didn't? Well, Gina, where'd it go?
Heh, looking for this, Otto. When did she do that? I wonder if you got anything else to show me, eh? What you reckon?
Give that back first, please. Oh, okay. Gina? We were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again.
You're alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like.
So, right, is this repeat? I'd love to help you out, but I'm just a trainee, ain't I? Ain't nothing I can do. Shit, what's in your text? Oh yeah, we can't look at the stage. Apparently we can't look around the stage now because the forensic investigation team are at work. Can't you do anything, Gina? In your capacity as an inspector of Lestrade? Well, I'd like to help you out. I'm just a trainee, ain't I? Ain't nothing I can do. When it suits you, yes. Oh. Okay. If we can't, we can't. Fine. Always a drama. What more can we click on? Here's the scorching on the ground that you mentioned. Yes, and that's what's left of the green balloon's envelope. All clear evidence of the balloon that exploded on the day of the incident. Poor Professor Harebrain. I do feel sorry for him that his dreams have been shattered like this. Someone's well and truly burst his bubble, as it were. I am a bad person. Oh, the Crystal Tower.
I can't believe I'm seeing it at such close proximity with my own eyes.
You've really been looking forward to the Great Exhibition, haven't you, Mr. Subtle?
Oh yes, when I found that I had to return to Japan, I'm afraid I cursed my luck.
Well, here you are, back in London, gazing up at the magnificent tower.
I know. Perhaps I was wrong to curse my luck so harshly. What a shame that the symbolic landmark of the Great Exhibition has been damaged like that.
Yes, unfortunately, the birdcage crashed in the most prominent position possible. It's the gods giving us a warning, if you ask me. Man must travel under his own steam and not cut corners with instantaneous kinesis.
Imagine what might have happened if the birdcage had landed in a slightly different location.
The death toll could have been far worse.
So I think perhaps it was a blessing in disguise.
Well, the gods are benevolent, obviously. I did say it was just a warning. Man must travel under his own steam, or next time bird cages will rain down on all of you.
Your faith is much stronger than I realised.
How do you think I passed the entrance exam for Yume University? It wasn't by studying alone.
Oh look, a flying balloon! I've never seen one in the flesh before.
I can't understand how they can fly. They're so high up as well.
What would think of the view, Mr. Naruhodo? You must be able to see for miles and miles.
I do think of it, and it terrifies me. It would be sudden death if you fell out.
Sure, they're perfectly safe. After all, they've been invented by some of the brightest minds in the world.
Let's not forget that we know at least one has exploded.
I'm sure there are other ways to fly.
Did we? I'm not sure, to be honest. So not the picture. Oh wait, what? There's more? The stage up there is where the experiment was set up. It's very high, isn't it?
About 30 feet, I believe. Or 9 meters if you prefer. Craning your neck to see up here starts to hurt after a while, doesn't it?
Yes, we need to get up there and look around properly. Although if I'm honest, climbing all those stairs makes my chest hurt.
Dear, I think perhaps you should exercise more, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm not usually stuck around here, I don't think. What more can we investigate? I don't think there's anything we need to present Gina. We can't talk. Oh well, I guess we'll visit our client. Oh my. Is this a prison or a maths classroom? What's he doing?
Oh my, the whole wall of the cell is covered in mathematical equations.
He's still writing more now.
Professor, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. And who is this young lady?
My name is Susato Mikotoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor.
Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner! None of this would have happened!
No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all. Oh dear, I'm sorry if my presence here upsets you.
I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in court this morning. Oh, no! The whole thing! The whole miserable affair! It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter klutz!
Professor Harebrained, what have you been working on in your cell?
Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see, and I simply had to write it down. The one was all I had to hand. Is it some new hypothesis? Something to support super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, maybe? Oh, no, actually, this is my autobiography.
Your autobiography?
How I was diddled and fiddled by Albert Harebrained. I've found I can represent my own fortunes with only odd numbers in an ambitious set of simultaneous equations.
Really?
I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new serial publication for the next month. Part 1, an odd birth, an odd upbringing. You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. I see. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case? Oh, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was fiddled by the pair of them. By Asmund and by our aloof engineer, Trevor. I'm not going to have to sift through an explanation of all these equations, are we? This morning's trial. Everything I believed in has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Asmund, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even. I'm sorry it's come to this. There's really no other way. No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting. It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public.
No, of course you didn't.
But in court this morning, I realized something. Well, if you've done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you were aware of it or not. Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me.
Professor?
He believed in me this morning, you know. Barak did. He believed in my hypothesis. Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case. No! Barak wouldn't do something like that! I'm sure he genuinely believed it! Did he? I think I understand now. Why it was he decided to take on the prosecution in my trial, I mean. Oh. After the terrible accident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even. I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there. So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it was anyone other than Barak, I'm sure the prosecution would have declared my hypothesis as a complete and utter nonsense. And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor. Exactly! It would have been a fate worse than death for me! But Barak insisted that I was a proper man of science from start to finish. You think that's why he... I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul. But that extreme kind-hearted soul spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he? Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it. And what about the whole Reaper side of things? How does that fit in with the kind-hearted soul idea? Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start? that? I'm sorry to say, that does seem likely, yes.
When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused. He was so emphatic.
In reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems.
I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic. It probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually. But the scale of it wasn't some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception.
All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. None of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try to earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go through all that, only to be taken for a complete fool. What to believe?
It is, I agree. And that's why we have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Asman is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer. Mr. Enoch Drebber. Speaking of Drebber, is he an engineer, or a magician, or a swindler?
It was about a year ago when Mr. Asman first brought Drebber to meet me at my laboratory. Since then, I've met him many times to discuss details about the kinesis machine.
But at no point did you have any inkling he was just an illusionist.
Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There's no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in a conversation.
I see.
But the wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there no clues you can give us as to his whereabouts?
I'm sorry. We only ever discussed the kinesis machine. Nothing else. Although, just once, I did visit his workshop.
What workshop? Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory where he constructed my great machine. Why didn't you mention this before?
Enoch Drebber's workshop.
There's every chance we might find the man there.
So you've been to Drebber's place of work then?
Yes, just once, you understand.
It was an enormous place. Plenty of room to construct the kinesis machine, you see.
Where can we find it? We have to go there at once. There's a good chance we'll find Drebber there.
Well, yes, definitely.
I'm sure. I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this.
But I have absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all.
I'm so sorry!
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage the entire way there. He blindfolded you.
He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place was incredible. The pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil he used was the very best. A special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. An indescribable sense of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should forget their secret formula and use that instead.
What do you think, Mr. Sottle? Order a machine for your next birthday?
I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Nuddlehuddle. I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you know even part of the workshop's address, Professor?
You
You don't have a business card for Mr. Drebber, for example.
The man was clearly very cautious, Mr. Sol.
Yes, I do! He gave me his business card once. It's right here, look!
What?
Let me see that!
Throw etiquette to the wind, why don't you?
Enoch Drebber, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address.
No. Oh well, can't say I'm surprised. Still, this could be useful. This dark smudge here. I think perhaps it's machine oil. Possibly. Professor Harebrain mentioned something about the oil Mr. Drebber uses, didn't he? Didn't he? He said it was specially imported, very high quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain.
Yes, that's right. But more importantly, that it's more fragrant than the finest perfume.
So, excuse me for a moment. It doesn't appear to have any scent at all. Don't worry, I expect that it's just because there's such a tiny amount on here. Tiny? Huh. Maybe something a mere human couldn't smell, but maybe someone with more heightened senses. Swim! About this, Gina.
Yeah, I'm still learning my letters at the moment. I only know A to E, so if there ain't too much bleeding trouble.
Actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important. You need to stop presenting the wrong side of things.
How come? It's just a dirty old smudge on the back, that's all.
Turns out that this is very high quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent, apparently.
You don't say. Let's have a whiff then. You sure? I don't smell nothing.
No, we didn't mean that you should smell it.
Alright, you mean Toby.
His sense of smell is so good he can track people all over the oceans, can't he? Professor Harebrain informs us that this oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop. I think he's picked up a scent.
So you mean, if he follows the scent on this oil, Toby could lead us to that Dodgy Cuff's workshop?
That's right! That's exactly what we were hoping.
Alright then, we'll give it a go.
I'll just borrow that.
Wait, when did you...
Want to pickpocket?
If I can lead everyone to that Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week.
Oh yes, Gina! I'm sure you'll be promoted. Poor Gregson.
Alright then, Otto, leave it to me.
Sorry?
We're gonna get going after that dodgy engineer cavalry this minute. Oh, well, hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty here all the time.
I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well, Gina.
Oh, right. Oh well, never mind.
Hey, what about those bobbies?
It ain't gonna be me what gets in it. It'll be the boss.
Poor Gregson.
Ready, Toby? Get on the oil scent, have ya? Come on then, boy. See you later.
I do hope the scent of their oil leads them to that swindler's workshop. Yes, I do hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel to France. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebbo. I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months. Yes, it's quite possible he might know something useful, you're right. We ought to find him at Madame Tuspel. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit.
Yes, Iris told me about his latest unusual venture.
Here we are again at the House of Horrors. I'm afraid I haven't gotten used to the place yet.
I'd still like to turn on my heels and go straight home. Via the confectionery, of course.
Susato-san really is after something sweet today, isn't she?
Ah!
What's the matter?
Look, Mr. Naruhodo, look at that waxwork. I'm quite sure it wasn't there before.
No, it was not.
It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes down to the very last detail. What is it?
Sorry, I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself.
Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee.
Oh yes, hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
I must say, I'm quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. The precious waxwork is already back where it belongs.
Well, where was he before? You know me.
But yes, the mystery is solved already.
Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough.
So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duties.
Yes. His habitual duties.
Alors, do not disturb, huh?
Poor Susato-san. She looks very perplexed. Wow! Where'd you go? You! Explain now! I really do need to speak with Mr. Sholmes, and I'm longing to say hello again. Where is he? I think you might find he's quite nearby, actually.
Oh, what are you?
Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I! The world-famous great detective and waxwork, Herlock Sholmes. Oh my gosh!
Susato-san!
My most humble apologies.
I thought I'd died and gone to eternal paradise for a moment. Via London.
My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point. As long as it's not of questionable street food quality.
I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes?
Merely a secret identity, you understand. Though the case is largely solved now. Largely solved. We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume. Indeed we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, It was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I'm yet to partake of pie, proverbial or otherwise. Or any food so far today, for that matter. Same dude. That stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how did you manage to solve it so quickly? Ah, well, do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone?
Oh yes, it's the most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet.
This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. It's amazing. Just between you and I, it would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event.
But I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no?
Yes, I think perhaps the ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive.
Does someone mean the negotiating was entirely unnecessary?
A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tussauds at any cost. A young, hungry Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all. Poor Iris. Now then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork? We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh.
Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebel. He's the swindler who duped Professor Hebring and the engineer who built the kinesis machine.
A swindler and an engineer? Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance at least, I may be in a better position to help. Yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts on it. Okay, but before that, explain! Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? My dear Mr. Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about?
Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the ship, your words were very clear.
So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder.
You told us that it was murder, and you examined Kazuma-sama's body.
Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today. The victim. Kenji Asogi. Okay, no, Kazuma Asogi. Well, he's wearing a mask, and you know. Okay, you know what? Never mind. You're quite sure?
He was wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure it was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he
wasn't actually dead. Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. Dude, but the fellow wasn't dead at all. Priceless. Bruh. I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruhodo? I could believe that the crewmen present at the time made a mistake. But not you, Mr. Sholmes. I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Mr. Sholmes. Tomorrow in court, you'll find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say. Bro, what the fuck? Ayo? Bruh. Wait, what else? Oh yeah, he said he wanted a picture, right. Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber, the face of the engineer we seek. Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course. So looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you alright, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes. Forgive me. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed. What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You've turned quite pale all of a sudden. I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruhodo. Will you indulge me? Well, what is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned. And I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains. Oh yes, the Professor exhibit, isn't it? Would you like to see it? For mere 5 shillings? That's a special one-time only price, you understand? What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of my labour? Oh, well, we do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone? The price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes? Surely you need look at my expression to ascertain if it's seriousness or silliness. It's you, sir. I can never tell with you, that's the point. Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings. Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure. Well, the money's been spent, so let's go and see the special exhibit. Through those heavy curtains at last. Oh shit, we have to actually go in. Oh, come on. 5 shillings we've had to pay. It doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money in his own pocket, does it? Sneaky No! We can't ask Gina to retrieve it for us, using her special skills. Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes Britain great? Not to mention demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands or chip-loving inspectors.
Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in that list, I think.
Well, how many times have I done this now? Oh my god!
Oh dear, I felt a shiver run down my spine as soon as we walked in here.
Mr. Sato! I say we turn on our heels and go straight home via a really big confectionery!
We certainly can't do that! We paid 5 shillings already!
True. Actually, now that I'm looking a little more closely, we paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete! The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place! This must be what Mr. Soames meant when he said the case was largely solved. Be that as it may, Mr. Soames heavily implied that there'd be a clue about the engineer in here, didn't he? But where? Since we've paid 5 shillings, let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation, shall we?
Yes, we will get what we paid for!
Is that fear or frustration that's making Susato-san's voice tremble? Could be both. Alright, left to right.
This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real.
Seems to be a young man in a white overcoat.
And he has a large shovel in his hand too, look.
Perhaps we should investigate it in a little more detail. A lantern. That's quite a large lamp the man's carrying. Or is it a lantern? It's not unlike a Japanese chochin paper. A lantern actually, is it? Lamp, lantern, chochin. The point is that it costs a very little light. To be walking alone in a graveyard at night with only this. Well, I certainly couldn't do it. I'm not sure I could visit a graveyard at all, even in broad daylight, to be honest. And camera. What's this here?
This would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera.
A camera? But it's so small!
British technology is incredible, isn't it?
I mean, what about Mr. Sholmes' skin prints?
I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera?
I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film.
We'll just borrow this for a little while with it.
Well, we can just casually take it.
By looking at the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what picture was taken.
What's a photographic plate?
It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to the light coming in through the lens. If we open the cover at the back of the camera, we can find it. We should find it. Let's have a look.
You should see yourself, Susato-san. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you? Oh, well, I guess we can't investigate it now. But at a later time. I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just...
Do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo?
Put it back exactly as it was, don't worry. black monocle.
Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible that this man is...
Yes. It's Enoch Drebber. The color of his hair is different, but it's unmistakably him. Indeed it is. Mr. Sholmes! This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe. Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in this exhibit? And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So then the case isn't yet solved, is it? Did I not say so myself? Largely solved were my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head to the suite, as Madame would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry Iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations. Ah! Do you know, though, something about this room is strange. Strange? What do you mean? What could be stranger than this? Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not? Indeed they are, Mr. Sato. Do go on. And as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely couldn't ever really have happened, could it? I think it's time I educated you a little about the nature of the incidents involving the Professor 10 years ago. I believe I told you about the Professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, each one being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. Gosh, an enormous hound? How awful. After taking the life of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand. Accordingly, the Professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted. A closed court? So you mean that the Professor's identity? As you've surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at Lowgate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where they had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair. Oh. The very night he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. Came back to life? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene as described by the sole witness to those chilling events. There was a witness. But of course, my dear fellow, there was none other than the young man in the white overcoat. Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen. So this is a waxwork model of Enoch Drebber. 10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave in the dead of night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances,
I would say he was about 20 years old. So horrifying. Scared out of his wits, the young Drubbin ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. The sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight. Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him, his hair is completely white. For the following few days, the story of what he had seen was on every front page in the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you'd seen, an exhibit was even created here at Madame Tussauds. I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place, in a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night. Yes, what was he up to? The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the various highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumours abounded. After all, no killer had ever before systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder. Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. But in time, of course, the rumours abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness account of the convicts who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlour tale. But why did people stop believing it? Why? Simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as we established in fact. What do you mean by no resurrection? The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution. No. But that would mean Mr. Trapper must have lied to the police and the newspapers. That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society, and nothing has been heard of him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think? Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life. That's not possible. But Trevor's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. It doesn't matter if they're here in Britain or in Japan. Graveyards are scary. Now I come to think of it, it's the first time I've seen a British grave. According to what I've read, the custom in Britain is to bury the dead as they were, without cremation. What? But if you do that, you might accidentally bury people while they're still alive. I'm not sure that would be worse than accidentally incinerating people while they're still alive. I think we can both agree that it's best not to be still alive when our time comes then. What am I to say to that? This must be the killer! The fiend known as the Professor! Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tussauds said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble royal blood. The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place. Oh no, it looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail.
So this is the condemned man. Yes, the so-called professor.
Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine. Unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a headless ghost.
Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Suttle? Anyway, I'm sure the model had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, see?
Perhaps Mr. Sholmes absent-mindedly forgot to reattach it.
That's extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it?
Or perhaps the thief absent-mindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned it to the museum.
That would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh! There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. It looks like a piece of broken glass. Quite a big piece too. It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal window glazing, I'd say. Where could such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder? I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength. But why? Well, perhaps because the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as in a big building, for example. Oh. Well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass was broken too.
You don't mean?
Exactly. The Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition.
But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside this waxworks jacket?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Earlier in court, we established that the kinesis experiment was a trick. And now we discover this fragment of glass here in this waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? I suppose there's nothing else from the look of it. Oh my gosh.
Ah! What the bleeding Lord? What have you gone and done?
Gina, what are you doing here?
I asked Iris, and she said this is where you be, so... Gina! Not too loud in the museum!
Madame Tuspel will have you take a position as a waxworker if you're not careful.
I think there might be a more pressing concern. I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so... Alright, Gina, we understand, but please, put down the gun! Sorry, I got scared.
Should try to be the one on the other end of the barrel. So, what brings you here, Gina?
What brings me here? What you think, huh? We found it. We found that dodgy Cub's workshop.
What? You found Trevor's workshop?
Yep. Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now in a drag, so come on. Here's the address. I got the boss to write it out. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once. Alright then, see you there.
Oh. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still. What? I know my place. In the exhibit over there. Oh dear, someone is feeling sorry for himself.
Let's go, Mr. Sholmes. You're coming.
Your words hearten me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here... Madame would have me pay a monetary recompense, and Iris's dinner plate would be empty once more.
Forget that! I'll pay for everything!
Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail your carriage at once. No offer to share the cost from Mr. Soames, then?
I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Noddlehoddle.
Thank you, Mr. Sottle. Right, let's go!